Hello, my name is Sara Beatty, and I am the Theater Operations Manager at the Kauffman Center for the Performing Arts. I am one of a team of the Kauffman Center staff who works behind the scenes to help support the many talented artists that we host on our two stages. I spend some of my time in the office helping keep track of contracts, settlements, and show advances, while another facet of my job is artist hospitality, which means I get to arrange transportation, hotels, and catering for our artists. I also help oversee the Kauffman Center's calendar. Did you know that the Kauffman Center for the Performing Arts hosts an average of about 355 performances a year? One of my favorite events is always Future Stages Festival, and I'm happy that you could join us for our 7th annual festival. While I'm sad we won't get to see you in person this year, I am thrilled to be able to teach you a few things about the Kauffman Center and playing pretend. Do you like to play pretend? In my house, my kids love to put on plays. Maybe you do too. Well, today I'm going to teach you how to make yourself or a friend look older. In a theater, performers are typically standing under bright lights and the audience is farther away. So we have a few special techniques that we use in an old age lines and spots to an actor's face, which from a distance makes them appear older. Now keep in mind, what I'm about to show you is intended as stage makeup, and it might look a little funny with our camera so close to our actress. So come along as I walk you through some of the basics of applying old age makeup. First, you'll want to gather supplies. You may not have all of these items available at home, so feel free to get creative and know you don't have to use stage makeup to create the effects. The two most important pieces to applying old age makeup is a highlight and a shadow. I'll be using a cream-based stage makeup, but eyeshadow or foundation could work just as well. Ideally, you're looking for a color that's 2 to 3 times lighter than your skin tone for the highlight, and 2 to 3 shades darker for the shadow. We'll also be using a liquid foundation, a neutral lipstick, and a translucent powder. Typically, you would want a stiff brush for applying the lines or wrinkles, and what's called a stipple brush. If you don't have those available, I would suggest a thin paintbrush, and we're actually going to use a dish sponge in lieu of our stipple brush today.
This is Piper Beatty. Piper is 10 years old, and we're going to make her look as old as we can today by adding some old age makeup. Step 1, we're going to add just a basic foundation. You can use any foundation you have lying around your house. And we're just going to put a nice base layer all over her face. And this just kind of gives you a starting place for your old age makeup. You can use your finger and blend it in with your finger. Or if you prefer, you can use a wedge and use that to kind of help blend the color into your face. It's okay if you don't have an exact match foundation, as we are going to be adding so many lines and colors to her face today that it won't even be visible. This just helps us blend in the colors a little bit better. The first thing we're going to do is create highlights on her face. And as you're going through, if you're trying to find your own highlights, you can move your head around in the light and see where the light catches your face. And anywhere you see light hitting or bouncing off your face is where you're going to add in the highlight colors. So we're going to start on the center of the nose. And you're making just a basic stripe down the middle of your nose. And you can fan it out just a little on the tip, depending on your nose size. And this is also a fun way that you can change the shape of your nose if you make it narrow or wider. We're also going to be adding a little bit here on the chin. I'm using a cream makeup, which is intended to actually add old age to the face, but you can easily use an eyeshadow as long as it's a little bit whiter or lighter than your skin tone. In addition to the chin and the nose, we're going to add highlights on her cheekbones. And these can be pretty thick if you're going to be on a stage. You want them to be a little thicker if you're going to try and fool your parents into believing you aged 60 years, then it might be better to try and keep them more blended. So we're gonna repeat on both sides that we get these nice, bright, not white, but a lighter color than your skin tone. You can also add a couple highlights to the inside of the eye, just a little bit. Once you've gone through with your lighter highlights, then we're going to go back with a darker color. Again, I'm going to be using a darker brown, and this will just give Piper a little bit more shadow. So you're going to do the opposite. Instead of trying to find where the light bounces off your face, this time you're going to look for where the depressions are, and you're going to try and make them look more sunken. So you're going to put it on your temples, along the side of your nose, and you're going to try and focus on the areas that on either side where you've highlighted. And this is just going to make it look darker and more sunken. You're going to go along the jawline and then pull it down. You're pulling that brown down, and you can blend with your finger, or again, if you want to use that wedge we used to begin with your foundation, you can use that, and that makes a nice, even look for that shadow. You don't want hard lines on these cheeks, but we will add a few wrinkles in here to make it a little harder. Another location you're going to add lines is along the jaw. And as you pull the shadow, you pulled it down from the cheekbone. This time you're going to pull it back up. And you can actually loop it around here on the bottom to make it look like you have jowls. It'll make your cheeks look a little fuller. And this time you're going to take your blending brush and you're going to pull that shadow up from the cheeks. It's okay to leave a little bit of a harder line here just to kind of give us this darker shadow. We're going to repeat the same thing on the other side. Again, we're pulling the brown lines along the cheekbone just under where you highlighted. And I'm coloring it in just a little bit. I'm even going to grab a little to put on my blending brush here, as this makeup isn't blending as good as I'd like. So we're just going to give it a little help. Again, we're going to follow the jawline and kind of circle it up just under her cheekbone, or under her cheek, where they naturally fall, and you're going to blend that upward. On the chin, above where you've highlighted, you're going to add a little bit of a loop there, and you're actually going to fill in this little gap under your lip just to give it a little bit more of a shadow than what's already there. Again, you're just kind of following the natural shadows and highlights on your face. Now we're going to add in a few wrinkles. There's a natural depression on everyone's face underneath their nose, so you're going to add a little bit of a shadow there. And then we're going to start in on the forehead. Now, as you get older, you start getting these natural wrinkles above your eyes. And if you want to try and see if you have any of those now, you can raise your eyebrows and follow these lines that happen naturally when you raise your eyebrows. And that will help when you're moving your face, especially if you're acting on a stage or portraying a character. It's going to look more realistic because those lines are already naturally there on your face. And we're all expressive talkers, so we use our eyebrows to help us. Okay? And once you've done that, you can kind of blend those in a little bit, but you do want to keep those lines a little bit stronger. Same way on the face, when you scrunch up your nose or wrinkle your nose, you're going to get these natural lines just between your eyebrows. And we're going to paint those in with our brown shadows again. And same way on your eyes, we're gonna add in a few extra wrinkles at the edges of your eyes. All these are just gonna add a few extra shadows as we go through. And then the other places that you can add in these natural wrinkles, if you will, to make us look older, is just under the eyes. You're gonna start in the corner of the eye and pull it down, and you're gonna just kind of loop it around like so, and you can start filling that in ever so slightly. And you wanna pull that shadow up towards the eyeballs. Makes you look like you're tired. Big bags under your eyes. Again, we're gonna repeat the same thing on this side, starting in the corner of the eye and pulling that shadow just ever so slightly up towards her eye. And you can even fill in this area a little bit more just to make those shadows look that much worse. Remember, we're trying to look old here. This is the start of our old age makeup, and we can blend this in more again if you're just working through an average day. But when we're on a stage, we want them to be a little bit darker so that when she goes under the lights, will look that much older. Now, we're gonna add in a few extra elements just to help make this look complete. So we're gonna start on the eyelids by having Piper close her eyes, and we're gonna use a basic shadow. This is just a very neutral eyeshadow colors. We've got green, dark brown, lighter brown, and a white. And we're gonna use some of these darker colors to kind of start coming in here and filling in some darker shadows on her eyes. And we can even put some of this under her eye to help make that under eye makeup that much more dark and depressed looking. We're going to repeat on the same side, just adding in those darker browns on Piper. Everybody's skin tone's a little bit different, so you want to make sure you're adjusting to your skin tone based on what colors you have available. And always make sure to ask Mom before you steal her makeup. All right, Piper, you want to open your eyes and let's see how she's looking. It's looking kind of rough. I forgot to add her temple on this side, so let's add that back in. I'm just going to kind of, again, press that in. Now, for the lips are going to be interesting because you want to make sure that you're using a color that is lighter than your natural lip color. So today, we're going to put just a little, put just a little bit of this old lady pink on her lips. You can use a brush, or if you have a lips tube, that's good. You can blot your lips together just a little bit, Piper. And what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take some powder, and since I'm using what we have lying around at home, I'm gonna use the soft side of my sponge, and I'm gonna put just a little bit of powder on my sponge. And we're gonna have Piper pucker her lips, and you're gonna powder over your lips. And the reason we do that is it helps natural wrinkles kind of come out. And then when you relax her lips, it makes her lips look kind of cracked and older. Because as we get older, we start losing moisture in our faces. And that's what is gonna create more of an old woman look. Now the last little bit we can add in, if you want to really accentuate the age, is to give her some age spots. And so that's where we're going to use this. I'm using a sponge, but you can use a stipple brush if you have it. But either way, you're looking for something with a little texture. And we're going to dip our sponge into our brown ever so slightly, just so you get just a little bit on the edges. And this sponge, you can tell I've been using for makeup because it's rather dirty. but you can get just a little bit of touch on there. And then we can just add in a couple dots. Usually people will get age spots on their cheeks, so it's kind of like getting an extra freckle. And this is just giving her a couple extra dots, basically. Sorry, that hurts a little bit. To make her look like she's been in the sun way too much. And we're just gonna put a couple on her cheeks and on her face down here. Now, when we're completely done with all of our lines, you can take another look, make sure if you need to blend, you can blend. You can soften up those lines if you think they're too harsh. I like to use my finger because it's available, but if you have the blending brush and you want to use a blending brush, that's always an option. And then we're gonna take our powder again, and we're gonna just kind of plot it all over her entire face. And this does two things. If you're acting on a stage, the stage lights can get super hot. And so the makeup, the powder here, over the makeup rather, will just help lock it in. So if Piper were to get under those super hot lights and start sweating, it will keep it from running all over her face. But it also helps us blend the colors in just a little bit and make it a touch more natural versus weird lines on your face that don't make any sense. Now, if you are playing, in Piper's case, an old lady, she might want to go back in and add in makeup as if an old lady were wearing makeup. And in that case, we might, close your eyes, we might want to go back in and add some blush or some more eye makeup, maybe a little bit of mascara. But you don't want to go too crazy because you're going to cover up your edges. And when we're done, brush her off there, we have an old lady. And the further we back away, the older she looks. And something to remember, we're pretending Piper has a costume with a collar, but if she doesn't have a costume with a collar, you would also want to make sure that you are bringing some of these lines down below the neckline and that you extend your makeup down to the base of your costume.
To finish off your look, you can add silver or white temporary hair dye to your hair, or in this case, we've given Piper a wig with some added color. Thank you for joining me in this tutorial and for participating in the Kauffman Center's Future Stages Festival. We appreciate your continued support.